Hargrave? I have one for you. We heard from Hidden Knolls Homeowner Association. You met with them and discussed the possibility of a hybrid option. Is it your intent to modify this request to incorporate the hybrid option rather than the request as submitted?
We're completely comfortable after talking with the college with doing the 42 detached cluster, single-family type detached homes would be more in keeping. Again, it's a package. We understand that it looks like it would be an acceptable approach to go with the 2 cul-de-sacs and a fire connection. If that's acceptable, then we can refine the plan to include that on the same pad that you see. It would just be what the residential product looked like would change then and how they were configured. Again, if I'm correct, and I'll defer to staff on this, the particulars of that plan development permit will follow as a separate hearing at some time. We're not acting on that at this time, but we are willing to let the CEQA document address that. And we don't see that there'd be any impact differences, nor, again, not an attorney, but thinking that this is not new information from a CEQA point of view. So we'll defer to staff on that one as well.
Thank you. And just for point of clarification, when you talked about the oak mitigation, I'm glad you brought in the numbers because that makes more sense to me, the numbers and sizes, than does the dollar amount, because I don't know how to value the oaks that are being moved out there. But when you said, what was the number again on the box trees? Was it 600 plus?
It's 67% of them, and if you look in the staff report, I'm sorry, not the staff report, but look at the handout we gave you tonight, I would say on LM1, as you look at it.
Right.
LM1 in the upper right-hand corner, it says 33% of them are 15-gallon oaks, which would mean 67% of them will be box trees, ranging from 24-inch box to 96-inch box and larger. And again, in the final analysis, working with staff, that total number may go down a little bit because we may find even more places where we could say, within this dollar amount we have, we could probably say they find a place, they say, you know what, let's do 20 more that are larger. And if the trees exist in the nurseries and they're deemed appropriate by all the technical consultants, then maybe that total number of trees goes down a little bit, but the sizing goes up a little bit. I hope that makes sense as well.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Mr. Hargrave. All right, Commission, you've heard from the applicant, you've heard from the public, you've heard from the applicant in and had your questions answered so far by staff. What are your thoughts?
I'd like to ask one more question of the staff. What's the maximum number of units that they can have on that property and still be within the zoning?
Commissioner Ostrom, the proposed zone change is from...
No, not with the zone change, the existing zoning.
The existing zoning is private education, so residential product would be prohibited in a private
consistent
education
zoning
zone.
with the residents right near it. In other words, to going down Jake's Way. With the zoning, with a zoning which, like single-family zoning.
In comparison to the Hidden Knoll subdivision, which is zoned residential suburban, you would be allowed five units per acre.
So that'd be 4.7 times 5 type thing.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I like throwing a little perspective on this particular project. I think Commissioner Burkhart is also privy to the information. Masters College is doing basically what we told them to do about 5 to 10 years ago when they were trying to build a large chapel in the valley. And it was very strongly suggested that they come up with some kind of a concept on the hill and on the other side, that type of thing. And I really think that's what they've done. They've done a great job of that. And so the only thing that sticks in my quill is coming up with a general plan amendment with zoning, and I'm still wrestling with that.
Mr. Troutman?
Well, I wasn't here when it first went through process, but I think that they've done a really good job. And as I was reading through this over the weekend and looking at it again today, I was trying to figure out how we make the visual impact, we reduce that, how do we save some of the oak trees. And again, I'm just really pleased that Michael and his group met with the applicant and talked about the hybrid. even as I looked at it, I looked at the alternatives, and I thought, well, the road is going to go through one way or the other, so then it's how do we do the housing that will work for the community, and I have no problem with the two back-to-back cul-de-sacs, with the fire connection there. The 42 detached cluster homes, I think is better, because even when I looked at this, and, I know you did a beautiful job with the visuals, but a lot of times we look at these things and there's just a hint of unreality to them. So I think that the two-story units will be much better. So I hope, my hope would be that you go back, go through the hybrid, work out those details, and bring that back to us with, the full mitigations that are recommended in the draft environmental impact report. There was a notation in the staff report now on page 7 about assessing non-native grassland areas as potential restoration sites for sage scrub habitat to mitigation requirements. I want to see that included there too. And I have a question. James, do we have, or perhaps Lisa, does staff maintain a database regarding the numbers and the health of oak trees and other species that are threatened or are, habitat for threatened species as mitigation for previous projects? Obviously, this applicant is coming in and going above and beyond, but I want to make sure that somewhere along the line we're tracking this, so we don't have somebody put something in and then it's pulled out and it's never really replaced. It kind of narrows down. I want to make sure that we are maintaining mitigation locations and looking for more where we can find them. Let's see. And I would like to see, I'm looking forward to seeing what that report is going to be on the mitigation at that intersection there, that we can do something about resolving that, because I've got to think too that there's plenty of volume there to justify putting in traffic signal even, and the crosswalks. I want to protect the people in that community, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about the green building. When I read things, and that was a note I had in here too about the noise mitigation, and the mitigation is window or rooftop air conditioning units so that people can close their windows. I think in a day and age where we're trying to get people to reduce their energy use, we should be finding ways where they don't have to close their windows, where they can leave them open and not have to use air conditioning to, at least to mitigate to noise. And I think that that's it for now, Mr. Chair.
Well, Dockweiler Road has been a controversial part of the circulation element for every bit of 25 years that I can remember, and probably longer than that, but that's when I first started paying attention. So, the fact that it's controversial in this project is no big surprise to me at all. I think that the only hitch in this whole master plan project, in my mind, is the situation that's created with Dockweiler Road and the impact that may be on the residents. But keeping in mind that the college project is not going to have a huge impact on the traffic on Dockweiler. It's not going to require that Dockweiler be made into 4 lanes, and it's not going to have a huge impact that the future possible connection to Lyons Avenue may have. So in my mind, I'm looking at this and saying, I think where we're at now with the college and Dockweiler is fine. The next guy in line that wants to make that extension and connection to Lyons Avenue is going to have a mighty wide river to cross in order to convince people in this commission, this city council, and this community that we need to do that. It's been on the books for years. Everybody knows about it, but it may be 25 years down the road from here before anyone realistically wants to make that connection anyway, or it may not, or it may be sooner. But I think that's the time when all the impacts to the folks on Dockweiler are going to become real significant and will need to be addressed. And that's the project that will hinge, that its future will hinge on Dockweiler, not this project. So that said, I'm pretty satisfied with what I've seen so far, and don't have any major issues or questions to ask staff to bring back to me.
Jacobson, any questions for next time?
No, I would just like to say how incredibly impressive it is to see what were once two opposing sides come together and really put their heads together and come up with a comprehensive plan that is agreeable to both. I mean, that really says something about this community and why it is so wonderful. So kudos to you, and I really look forward to seeing the redraft with the new double cul-de-sac and the hybrid.
Okay, what I'm hearing from the commission then is we're getting closer on this project, but we're not there yet. We want to hear some more on the hybrid option. We want to hear more on traffic safety and intersection. We want to hear more on green building. And we've heard the issue on Dockweiler Road. So,
Chair Kennedy,
you have a comment?
if I may, I think that at this point, staff is nodding to each other, that we've really received a lot of your direction. I think we feel at this point that we can address a lot of the few remaining issues there are, bring back a hybrid plan, and bring back the appropriate documentation for the commission to take formal action to the city council. This would require additional time for staff to prepare and make sure that when we do come back to you, we've comprehensively addressed everything. And that would take the form of a draft final environmental impact report. We would want to make sure that you have an opportunity to review that prior to the meeting. So we would request that we would return back to the Planning Commission at your November 4th meeting.
November 4th. Okay.
I'll move we continue to November 4th.
Continuance to November 4th.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
And just to
Madam
clarify,
Secretary?
Commissioner
ahead.
Chair, just to clarify, this will be a recommendation to the City Council, which will be the last Planning Commission meeting, and then it will be forwarded on to the City Council. So I just want to make that clarification.
Correct. That's the intent. Any other discussion or comment? Madam Secretary, poll the commission.
Commissioner Ostrom,
Yes?
Commissioner Troutman,
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobson,
Yes.
Commissioner Burkhart,
Yes.
Chair Kennedy.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 3. This is master case number 06-073, conditional use permit 06004. Case planner, Mr. Chow again. It's been brought to my attention that some people may require a short break here on the commission. I'd be willing to entertain that motion. If we could take a short one. Okay, 5 minutes, please.
5.
We'll reconvene at 9:04.
Planner with the city's planning division. The next item before you is another continued public hearing item from July 29th. This is master case 06-073. This is a request for a conditional use permit and tentative tract map in order to construct a 4-story mixed-use building and to subdivide the property to create up to 10 residential units and 15 commercial units on a 1.36 acre property not too far from here at the corner of McBean Parkway and the Mall Entrance Drive. Proposed entitlements again include a conditional use permit for the building height, for the mixed use product, and also to amend an existing approved shared parking program. The proposed tentative tract map entitlement is required in order to subdivide the property. To go over the zoning and general plan information, the zoning map provided before you shows that the project site is zoned commercial town center with a a Valley Center concept overlay as a general plan overlay designation. And as you can see, surrounding the property is CTC zoning, OS zoning for the golf course, and RM zoning for the residential community to the west. This gives you an aerial perspective of the project site. This is, again, the vacant lot across the street from Town Center Mall. And as you can see, some of the land uses surrounding the area. You have the country club and the transfer station, the McBean transfer station, located immediately to the west, and the Town Center Mall to the east. These are some photographs taken around midday about a year ago of the project site, which remains in the same state today. Again, vacant lot at that intersection. Provide the Planning Commission some background information. The original shared parking program was approved by city staff back in 1996 under a minor use permit on November 22nd of 1996. This approval divided the Valencia Town Center area, now called the Valencia Town Center West, into 3 quadrants, A, B, and C, with the future quadrant D for those 4 corners. Guidelines that were outlined for this shared parking program allowed for future adjustments. Several updates have been provided to city staff and have been approved by city staff for the development of an office building on Town Center Drive across the street from the Spectrum Mall. Also the Hanover condos, which are now called the Madison condos at Magic Mountain and McBean Parkway, as well as other changes to valet parking for the hotel and other use changes. The parking program update is required to be reviewed by the Director of Community Development, but as a part of this CUP proposal, it's wrapped into that for the Planning Commission's review. Regarding the project description, the development proposal consists of, again, a 4-story proposed mixed-use building equaling about 49,400 square feet of building area. The proposed uses for the mixed-use building include a first-floor retail/office use, a second and third floor office use, and the 4th floor for a residential product of 10 for-sale units at the very top of the building. The proposed building height would reach up to about 55.5 feet for the main portion of the building, with tower features extending up to about 68.5 feet in height. The proposal also consists of a subterranean parking garage as well as surface parking equaling 105 spaces on site. And the project also provides the required landscaping, sidewalks, a public art component, which the applicant will be discussing in their presentation, as well as other project amenities. Again, the project also proposes an amendment to the shared parking program and a subdivision of the property up to 25 airspace units. This is a site plan / landscape plan showing the proposed development, the building footprint, which would maximize the vacant lot at that corner. In regards to analysis of the site plan and the landscape plan, city staff has been able to work with the applicant on several changes to the proposal. The project does adhere to the site planning guidelines of the city's architectural design guidelines, in that it is sited and located closer to the main street with parking tucked behind, and in this case, underground. City staff also worked with the applicant on increasing the size of the parking garage. When initially submitted, there were far fewer spaces than what there are today in the subterranean garage. That subterranean garage area has expanded to accommodate roughly 30 to 40 additional parking spaces than what was originally submitted. Also, As you can see, and as with all commercial projects, efficient vehicle circulation through the site would be provided with 90-degree parking drive aisles and other parking spaces. City staff also required the applicant to revise a site plan to provide a sidewalk connection to the bus transfer station to make it more of a transit-oriented type of development, to provide efficient access for the residents or the tenants of the building to maximize the bus potential and the transit potential in that area. And the project also provides connections to McBean Parkway and also the pedestrian bridge on the south side of that intersection, as well as additional or proposed and required landscaping for the site. City staff has also had the opportunity to work with the applicant on revising the original architecture that was submitted by the applicant. RRM Design, the city's architectural design consultant, had an opportunity to comment on the original elevations, which you see in the upper two pictures here. And with the assistance of RRM, city staff was able to have the applicant revise and improve the architecture of the building, primarily on the north facade of the building. As you can see, there is now a prominent accented entry and tower feature where one wasn't before. With regards to height, a CUP is required because the proposed height does exceed 35 feet. The building height, again, for the main portion of the building is about 55.5 feet, with tower elements increasing to 60 feet and 68.5 feet for the main tower. The general plan designates the property with a valley center concept, which encourages and promotes higher density, higher FARs, and in this case, an FAR of up to 2-to-1, where normally in a CTC zone you have about a 37.5% FAR. In comparison to some of the other buildings within the town center area, you have building heights that range from 4 to 6 stories and up to 90 feet in height, including the Hyatt Hotel next door, the Madison condos, as well as the Princess Cruises buildings on Magic Mountain Parkway. Also included in your staff reports are a few simulations provided by the applicant to give the commission a better understanding of the context of the building and how it relates to the existing town center area. In regards to parking, city staff has required the applicant, much like the other users before them in the town center area, to update the shared parking program under this CUP. The parking provided, again, consists of 105 spaces, 78 underground and 27 surface spaces. 12 residential spaces, which is the required minimum for the residential component of the project, will be required at all times. So these will be exclusive parking spaces for the residents of that product, along with 93 non-residential spaces, which will be open to all of the commercial users of the building. The applicant had Linscott Law and Greenspan, the parking engineers conduct field surveys and also provide the parking update to the shared parking program for this project. And included in that parking analysis are principles that have been, and concepts and methodologies that have been adopted in the past, which include, and in this case calls for residential spaces, again, not to be shared with office use, which is the primary use of this building, to have peak demand during weekday hours and weekday use, with other uses within the shared parking program, using parking predominantly in the evening hours and on weekends. The findings of the update show that at any peak weekday demand, usually occurring around 11 o'clock in the morning, there would still be a residual surplus of parking in that shared parking quadrant of at least 108 spaces. Conversely, on weekends, where the demand for parking by the hotel and other uses, the conference center there, there would be a residual surplus in that area of 172 spaces at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday morning. Regards to the mixed-use component, the CUP for the development is required because this parcel is not located in the mixed-use overlay, and any mixed-use projects outside of the mixed-use overlay would require the CUP. Several mixed-use principles that are incorporated into the project include pedestrian and transit-oriented principles. The project and the applicant has worked hard in reducing the car dependency of these uses by integrating the project with the transit, or the transfer station, and also other transportation demand management concepts that would provide alternatives to transportation that the applicant would be implementing. And also adherence to the design standards called out in the mixed-use overlay. The tentative track map component would subdivide the property into 10 residential units. These would be for sale units on the 4th floor, and also allow commercial tenants the opportunity to own their own space. In this case, the proposal is to subdivide the remainder of the building up to 15 commercial condo lots. A property owner association would be formed to make sure that all the common areas are maintained, and adherence to the Subdivision Map Act is also required. A 21-day notice and preparation period, public review period for the CEQA document occurred back in July in preparation for the July 29th meeting. To date, city staff has received one letter from actually the Hyatt, the new owners of the Hyatt, requesting additional information. Last month, the applicant met with the new owners of the Hyatt to provide additional information regarding the project. That was the reason for the postponement, the continuance to tonight's meeting. With that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt Resolution P08-17, adopting the mitigated negative declaration and approving Master Case 06-073. That concludes staff's presentation. I'll be available for any questions.
Thank you, James. Any questions for staff?
Not at this time.
I just have one. You know, you stated that the reason for the continuation from the last meeting was so that the applicant would have a chance to meet with the new owners of the Hyatt. You stated the meeting occurred. Did they come to terms? I presume they have by implication, and therefore...
The applicant may be better able to respond to that. But
with that then, let me call forward the applicant. We have Mr. Jim Backer and Mr. Glenn Adamick, co-applicants here.
Thank you. My name is Jim Backer. I'm president of JSP Development, and Glenn will be available for questions. I'm going to do the presentation. You know a little bit about the project right now. Just to answer your question first, Commissioner Kennedy, yes, we did meet with the Hyatt. We've had several calls with them since that meeting, and the basic issue was they were a new owner. They wanted to know how this would impact their property, typical question of a new owner. And after meeting with them and providing them with the information that's in the staff report, and I think getting to know us a little bit, they are satisfied with where we are. And we're continuing to work together to make sure they know what our schedule is and things like that. So I think we're all in good shape there. The location, as you can see, is right in the middle of the town center. You know the next slide, James, thanks. We are right by the Paseo Bridge, right next to the conference center at the Hyatt, and the site is currently an undeveloped site. Go to the next one. Oh, great. It's a pretty small lot. There's 35,000 square feet that's dirt. We actually own the road as well that takes it to a little bit under 60,000 feet. We are certainly centrally located. We think it's a perfect location for mixed use. The services are there. The transit hub is there. The Paseo Bridge is there. People can walk to work. And we think it's the first true mixed use project in the city. And let me kind of tell you what we think of mixed use. We've got residential on the top floor. We've got office on the bottom 3 floors. We have a small amount of retail. We are limited to 2,500 square feet of retail per agreement, the purchase from the landowner. It's a very walkable site, and we think we're the pioneer for Santa Clarita, the first of its kind. In terms of our occupants, we expect employment of up to 150 people in this building. Residents of about 30 for a total of 180. And when you compare that to a jobs housing balance of 150 employees and 10 residential units, that's 15 to 1. Our payroll is pretty significant if you look at the figures that are available for what an average annual salary might be in a professional location like this. Try to give you a little bit of idea. I am not a residential developer by trade, so there's been some learning curve on this. This is kind of what we think the residential penthouse might look like inside. This actually has, as you can see, a stair on the right-hand side because this unit would have a loft. 3 of the 10 units have lofts, and those are located kind of where the large towers are in the building. You can see we've toured quite a few things. This is an example of some lofts down in Santa Ana. There are other projects, the Dalton project in Pasadena, the Burbank collection in Burbank, and then finally the Americana at Brand, which you may have seen. And we've toured these and looked at their information to try to compare unit sizes and amenities and what is typical for units of this type. And we've actually looked at 10 different ones in Southern California. You can call this the revenge of the history major, but this is a Thomas Jefferson sculpture that we actually own already, and this would go right outside the main entrance to the building, and it's just kind of our attempt to bring a little history of the country and bring a little bit of public art to the project. Finally, just this has been a long process. We've worked very hard with staff and with the inputs from staff. We think we've addressed all the outstanding issues for this project, and we are really excited about it. We think it's going to be a terrific project. So I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Becker. The applicant.
I want to ask about the shared parking. So my concern with this is that I want to make sure we don't get into the same situation we had with lots C and D. It's one thing to say that it will be accommodated within the A, B blocks combined, but are we going to have an issue when we have 25 spaces short of code where people can park somewhere in those blocks, but it's not going to be accessible to where they need to be?
As you can imagine, we followed the issue that you're referencing. I think one of the things about our side of the street and our project is we really have uses that complement each other and that are used at different times of the day. The office people are there 8 to 5. We've provided for permanent parking for the residents, so they do not compete for the shared parking with anybody. That needs to be clarified. Of the commercial occupants and their parking requirements, we believe by doing the analysis we've done, which is, as James mentioned, we did a weekday analysis and a weekend analysis. So we actually counted cars that were out there, and we've done studies based on Lynn Scott Long Greenspan's work of what office users use. So we're very comfortable with it. The numbers that we've gotten to are more than sufficient to meet the demands there. And as James mentioned, I mean, we've done this, we've expanded this. It was actually 50 spaces that we added to the underground parking structure. In addition, I think that the office group is possibly the most likely to use the transit center that's right next door. We also, if you start to count units, I mean, we're not going to be very surprised if a lot of people walk to this facility for work. We know they walk to Princess Cruises now across the street, and you guys know all the housing that surrounds us there. So we're very comfortable with it, and we believe the report supports those findings.
And one other question on the public art. Is that an original piece of art?
It is it's one of a series of works that was done by an artist in Loveland, Colorado. We actually have Abraham Lincoln at my Turney Place project, if you've ever been over there. So he's kind of first on my list. Jefferson's up there. But so it's one of a series, and I'm sorry, Diane, I don't remember how many he did in this.
Okay, but it's
It's
not
a
an off the
bronze
rack, it's an
casting.
original
No,
art.
there's a
Okay.
limited number of them, and we think it's actually gone up in value since we bought it, but we're not selling it, so we don't care.
Okay, thank you.
Questions for the applicant? Okay, I see, Madam Secretary, I have no requests from the public for comment. So discussion.
You know, the one thing I looked at with a lot of interest was the parking agreement. We've said before that the shared parking agreements in this area do work very well. We had that hiccup with the restaurants and the movie theaters and that into the mall that Diane mentioned a little while ago, but as it turns out, we had that problem because people were not following the agreement. And once we got everybody back on page with that, it seemed to take care of itself. So looking at the parking, I'm pretty satisfied with that. And as far as the rest of the project, I think it's an absolute slam dunk for this part of town. It's a great looking product. The mixed use that we have over, just down the street by the Spectrum and the Madison and all that, I think is just a great looking attribute to the city, and this will continue it.
I agree with Commissioner Burkhardt. Staff has done a wonderful job with the applicant in the architecture. I think it's beautiful. So I actually, when we did go on our tour, I had no idea there was even a lot back there. So you just drive down, you have no idea. So it will be quite a vision on the street. So I think you guys have done a great job.
I think the architectural improvements are very good, so I congratulate staff on working on that and the applicant, and I think it is totally appropriate for the area.
I agree.
Hey, at the risk of sounding redundant, I agree also. I mean, I really like what the staff has done. I really like the concept here of mixed use. I like a walkable community. This is going to be it. It's constructed near a transit center, right near the heart of downtown. And the architecture ties in very nicely with everything in the surrounding area, so I like it. So with that said, it sounds like we have a consensus developing. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move we approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve as recommended by staff and a second. Madam Secretary, roll call.
Commissioner Troutman,
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobson,
Yes.
Commissioner Burkhardt,
Yes.
Commissioner Ostrom,
Yes.
Chair Kennedy.
Yes.
The motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, carries unanimously. Good. That moves us to the planning manager's report. Now
Thank
she's
you,
been
Chair
fresh.
Kennedy. Before he leaves, I'd just like to thank Associate Planner James Chow for all of his hard work. As you can imagine, his plate has been very full over these past few months, and to have two big items on one night is not an easy task. So we
Right.
thank him for all of his hard work.
Thank you for pointing that out. He did carry the day. Nice work, James.
I have a few items to report to you with regard to some city council action and some items related to the Planning Commission's schedule for September. You normally have a study session scheduled for your second meeting of the month. That was originally scheduled to continue our series of One Valley, One Vision for your September meeting. We would like to push that back to October and not have a study session in September. We had planned to bring to you the traffic and circulation element of One Valley, One Vision, and it's just taking a little bit longer than we had anticipated. We want to make sure that it's complete enough so that the commission and the public has adequate time to review it before the session. So what we've done is we've adjusted the remaining months for your study session schedule for 2008. And if you see, OVOV circulation will be brought to you in October. OVOV housing will be featured in November. And we will be having a study session in December because it is earlier this year. It's December 16th. And that will be our opportunity to look at the year in review and look ahead to 2009. Also in September, we do have the California Chapter American Planning Association Conference coming. Planning Secretary Maggie Sanchez put together for you a packet just to get you started on looking at some of the sessions that will be available, mobile workshops, as well as sessions held at the Renaissance Hotel in Hollywood. As the date gets a bit closer, we will be looking to the commission to give us any of your preferences with regard to carpooling or transportation or any arrangements that we can make for you. And I would recommend that working through Maggie is probably the best way to go. We are in the process now of developing our 2009 to 2013 consolidated plan. This is all part of our federal requirements. And as part of that, we're looking to identify the needs of our community. And what we've done is we've put together a survey. This has been provided to each of the commissioners with a transmittal memorandum that explains what it is. It's also available on the back table of the council chambers for members of the public. We've been passing these surveys out at various organizations and meetings that we've been attending. We ask that all interested persons please fill it out, including the commissioners, at your earliest convenience, but not later than October 31st, and submit it back to the city. And if there are any questions with regarding the survey or the consolidated plan, the person to contact at the city is Project Technician Teresa Sullivan. A few city council items. At the last city council meeting, the second reading of the Unified Development Code amendments was brought before the city council, and they did conduct the second reading and passed the ordinance. So those UDC amendments will be effective 30 days after that meeting, so towards the end of September, early October. Also, you may want an update on the Henry Mayo Hospital Master Plan project. As you know, that item is still pending before the City Council. Now, this summer in June 26, we circulated a new environmental impact report, a draft DIR, on that project to address a number of the changes that had occurred to the project description. Although the changes that occurred were actually created reductions in a variety of impacts. They touched on new topics and elements that had not been previously analyzed. So we took the opportunity to do a comprehensive update of the environmental impact report. If you remember, we started with this process back in 2004, so much of the data needed to be updated. We did that. We circulated it for 45 days. In the notice of availability that went out with it, there was a discrepancy in the date. So we decided to do a new circulation for an additional 45 days. But we also noted that there were a few technical inaccuracies in one of the appendices that affected some of the impact analysis for various service areas, such as wastewater consumption, natural gas, electricity, and such. So we took the opportunity to further update the environmental impact report, and that revised September 2008 EIR will start its 45-day recirculation tomorrow on September 3rd. And it will run for 45 days to October 17th. Now, the City Council will be holding a public hearing on the project and this new September 2008 EIR on Tuesday, September 23rd. I also wanted to mention an affordable housing project that the city is launching into. It's with a group called Mercy Housing. And what Mercy Housing has come to the city and proposed to do is to take an existing 67-unit apartment building in the Canyon Country area on Hideaway, they're called the Hideaway Apartments, and convert it to a 100% affordable housing project. And as part of that, they have funding coming from a number of sources. One of those sources would be from the city of Santa Clarita, and they will be going to the City Council at an upcoming meeting in September and requesting a dollar amount ranging from 1.9 million to 2.6 in order to assist in the rehabilitation of this apartment building. But it will convert the apartment to 100% affordable. About 50% of the people who already live there will continue to be allowed to live there. There's a fairly strict interview and screening process that people who can apply to live there will go through. And as part of this, they will be doing a full exterior and interior rehabilitation of the campus, which already has some very nice vegetation and a lot of amenities, and they will be looking to upgrade both the interior and exterior areas with this money. So that's something that the city is very excited about. It really is one of our first affordable housing projects that we'll be launching into, and we expect to have more opportunities with groups like this.
Did you say?
67 units.
67?
Lisa, how many of the current residents?
About 50% will qualify to continue to live there.
So this is a moderate?
Yes,
Low
it would
and
be
moderate?
moderate. It would be moderate.
Okay. And okay, and so do we have an idea of what's going to happen to the other 50%?
Well, as part of this process, it's fairly involved, and it does involve relocation and relocation costs. And so it ensures that those who would not qualify in the future to continue to live there are assisted to find other living arrangements.
Actually, in this case, the relocation benefits for those residents that will be required to move are fairly generous, and I believe it provides up to 42 months of assistance for those residents that will be relocated. So they'll be able to move into a new unit and have relocation assistance to keep their rents comparable to where they're at now in these existing units. So it does have a fairly generous program.
Okay.
Your report, Lisa? Commissioner reports. Commissioner Troutman.
The Arts Advisory Committee had a meeting with the mayor, the city manager, and the director of Parks, Recreation, and Community Services about a week and a half ago to talk about the possibility of forming an arts commission. And we're happy that the mayor is going to be agendizing that for the council to discuss. We think that's the next step that the arts need to take in this community so that it has a elevated position and can really start to make some changes and grow the arts in the community. And I just wanted to mention the housing, and I wasn't able to print it out, but I'll send a link that you can send on to the commissioners. If you didn't see the article already, there was an article in the Los Angeles Times today about other cities such as Palmdale and Lancaster that are buying properties and rehabilitating those properties in such a way that they can essentially flip the properties and then help fund housing that's affordable housing. So, and there are other things in there too about particular policies that those cities have adopted along those lines. So I'll send that link on, and Maggie can send it out. And I did want to ask, and I understand, I spoke with someone, with Michael, after the first agenda item, and I want to find out how we got to the situation with Hidden Knoll and D.R. Horton with the property confusion about what was actually part of their HOA and what wasn't. So I'd like to know how that possibly came about and what we can do, if anything, to help residents avoid that sort of a problem in the future.
Lisa, I just had a question along the lines of affordable housing. Have there been any more moves to condoize mobile homes anywhere else in the valley?
Well, there's an existing process that's occurring as part of the Sand Canyon Joint Venture Project that's located on Sand Canyon and Soledad Canyon Road. And that would be to eliminate the mobile home park. There is an application that may have come in. Wasn't Jason Killebrew? I don't believe we have any applications in.
Yeah.
I just want to thank city staff for being so incredibly generous with your time and in answering all of my questions. And I'm just want to say the welcome that you have given me is just makes me feel great, because I was walking into a big old minefield, but I felt, pretty prepared and quite calm. And I want to thank my fellow commissioners for welcoming me too. So I look forward to the next 4 years.
Good to have you. One thing on the affordable housing situation, 2 weeks from today, there's a joint FIA Chamber luncheon sponsored, along with co-sponsored by BIA. And Mr. Paul Brotzman and I are going to be panel members on a 5-member panel that will be discussing the issue of affordable housing in Santa Clarita. So it's another place for people to get involved, to have some thoughts on the matter. So now we'll open it up for public discussion, but I have no speaker cards up here. Madam Secretary, confirm there's no request for public discussion, and therefore I would entertain.
I'll second that
First
motion.
and second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Hi, I'm Howie Mandel.
I'm Sally Field.
I want to introduce you to a very special place.
Lark Ranch began almost 50 years ago. It was started by a group of visionary parents who were not willing to accept institutional surroundings for their developmentally disabled children.
Lark is a unique facility with a community of individuals who are all special and contributing members not only of Lark, but of the larger community of Santa Clarita.
But they need your help to maintain this outstanding program and continue to deliver to its residents the kind of care that will help keep Lark Ranch operating for another 50 years.
Please give generously.
And let's continue the miracle of Lark.
Hi, I'm Kathy Sturkey, and Elvis is in the house. Come out to Lark Ranch on September 21st for a fabulous day of entertainment with an Elvis impersonator and great food and fun.
The City of Santa Clarita's Street Art Festival returns to Old Town Newhall Saturday, September 27th and Sunday, September 28th. Free and open to the public, the Street Art Festival features live music, dance entertainment, and great food and fun for the whole family to enjoy. All weekend long, watch street artists create a work of art from a beginning outline to the final masterpieces. Don't miss the City of Santa Clarita's Street Art Festival in Old Town Newhall, sponsored by Lockheed Federal Credit Union.